Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the latest installment of the New Establishment Presents Disorderly Conduct. We're live at the Lazy Fox. My name's CJ Rock. Lazy Fox, 18 Farm Lane, a nicest pub in Fulham. It is Fulham. Sorry, I forget where I am sometimes. But the nicest pub in Fulham. Just check out their website. It's the Lazy Fox. Just search for it on the website. You'll find it. Lazy Fox Fulham. It's a great pub. It's got a bear wall and good food, guys. It's got good food, right?
Tasty.
Yeah, very nice.
Right, so I'm joined today by Daly. How are you?
I'm alright, I'm good.
Newman, how are you?
I'm all good, always good.
And Carleen, how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
Thank you for coming back for another episode. We've got some hot topics for you today, but first of all, Newman, what happened on your journey in, mate? You got lost in London. You're a London boy, aren't you?
No, it was just one tube was so packed I just stayed on that tube until it hit the end of the line.
Well, you couldn't get out. It was like, excuse me.
I was literally up against the wall.
I think you failed when you went from the wrong way from the start.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's not great. I'm sorry to hear that. I thought you were London boys. Sorry.
Suburban London.
How wrong was I? So this week, there's been a lot going on this week, and it's been hard to pick stories to talk about. It was Mothering Sunday. The week started off a celebration of mothers everywhere, but you wouldn't know it via news coming out across the world, really. But there you go. They announced the second Frozen. I'm sure many mothers looking forward to 18 viewings of that, as so many have had so far. And then Justin Bieber got roasted.
Literally.
Verbally got roasted on the roast. He got abused for a couple of hours, and he took it on the chin. He took it quite well, unlike Rooney,
that one.
who got knocked out. You haven't watched it yet?
No,
you got to watch it. You got to watch the roast. If you got Netflix, you can catch the roast. They've done Flavor Flav. They've done. Did they do Snoop?
They did Charlie. What's his name?
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, that was
I
good.
watched that one.
That was terrible.
William Shatner. They've done.
Yeah.
They've done a few. They're quite funny. It's just basically an hour of abuse from other celebrities and some people. Pam.
Yeah.
The Hoff, I think, got done at one point.
Yeah.
There's a few, so it's definitely worth watching. But I've selected other stories. Some of them serious, some of them not so much. The biggest issue today. I don't read the Daily Mail. Okay, but I go to the Daily Mail. What I do pay attention on the Daily Mail is the comments, because the comments always tell you what the enemy's up to, and comments online reveal how stupid people really are. But what unleashed the rage today amongst the denizens of Britain and around the world was that apparently Britain is silencing debate on race issues. Now, I hear people talking about race a lot in Fulham. In fact, a lot of people I know don't hesitate to talk about race. So I don't know what is being banned, but we'll come to that in a second. I wanted to put it out to you guys. Do you feel that debate on race has ever been... Do you feel comfortable talking to people about race? I don't know, like when you go home to tea with grandma, are you comfortable talking about it there? Is there a place where you need to go, or...?
No, it's just always been pretty chill with it, isn't it?
It's all come about because Trevor Phillips, who was the Equality and Human Rights Commissioner for London for a while, said that he's doing a documentary and he interviews Farage, everybody's favourite parliamentary candidate. He interviewed him and he brought up a few issues saying people don't feel comfortable talking about race and blah blah blah. And what I'm trying to figure out is it people don't feel comfortable talking about race, or people don't feel comfortable being racist? Because it just sounds like that more to me than anything else.
It depends what the subject is, doesn't it?
Well, funny you should mention that.
Perfect.
Perfect timing, because we've got a few of the things that the Daily Mail said people don't feel comfortable talking about. One of those is that most black murder victims are killed by blacks. Most black murder victims are killed by blacks, and I'm sure that most white murder victims are killed by white people. Don't know if that's a race issue as such, but they mentioned that. Have you ever wanted to talk about to people about that?
I don't think I've ever felt.
Is that a race issue? I know there's a lot of talk about it within the Afro-Caribbean and black communities of the UK. People do talk about that. There's been many efforts to stop that. I haven't heard people being stopped from talking about that. The only time I remember there being an issue is when the Metropolitan Police Commissioner at the time said that the majority of pickpockets or muggings are done by black people.
That's changed over to Romania now, isn't it? That's the common stereotype now.
But in London, this is only in London though, as a country as a whole, the majority of muggings are not, I don't think, committed by people who...
Surely, how are you meant to know who pickpocketed you? Isn't that the whole idea of being pickpocketed?
Well, this is the thing.
It's just accusing people, surely.
Well, the pickpocketing, separately from the mugging, the pickpocketing was Romanians are far more likely to be pickpockets. They don't give you a statistic on that, all right? It's just what they've come out with, and obviously, I don't know, maybe the police arrest more Romanians, which means actually they're pretty rubbish at pickpocketing, which means that, most pickpocketings probably go unreported. I don't know. There's no statistics here. Street grooming gangs come from the Pakistani Puri community. I don't know if that's a fact, because I know there was the stuff up in that town. Which was the town? Rotherham.
And Oxford. There's quite a few places up north as well.
Yeah, I know it's happened a lot there, but I don't know if it's actually a fact that they all come from those groups. I know there's a lot of Eastern European groups involved with they call it white slave trade, so moving women illegally around Europe and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's all Pakistanis doing that, and I doubt that very much. But apparently people aren't allowed to talk about that. Even though I've seen a lot of people talk, we're talking about it now. I've seen a lot of people talk about it. I don't know. Alcohol-fueled crime is committed by white Britons.
I think that's widely talked about.
But isn't it a better statement to say that alcohol-fueled crime is committed by people who were drunk?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if race is actually an issue
it's
in
not so
that.
much race, but they were talking about the binge culture, and especially what's those places like Magaluf and all those kind of horrible shows. So I guess it's more, well, it's probably maybe more youth culture possibly than actual race.
Yeah, because I've known of young people from many cultures to get drunk and get involved in alcohol-fueled crimes. It may be the majority of them are white. The majority of people in the country are white. So effectively, there's going to be certain crimes that they outstream everybody in, no matter what. But again, black Britons are twice as likely to be sentenced for violent crimes. I'm really sorry, but a lot of people have been saying that for ages. We've been pointing it out to the Daily Mail for years. If you're black and you go up in front of a court, you're more likely to be convicted for a crime than somebody who's white. The prison population disproportion in the prison population tells you that. People have been speaking about that for years, and I don't think people have been uncomfortable about that. The police are being made to be uncomfortable about it, but that's because they're doing a bad job of arresting people overall. I don't know. That's how do you guys sit with that one?
I was thinking back at...
Am I hitting you guys too hard?
Times. No. I remember London riot times, and everyone was like turning against the police, and kind of in the sense that the police, their judgments are kind of all of a sudden we believe they're stupid, but they just have a job to do, and it's a bit weird that, where does it come from, that situation when arrest has happened to the point where someone gets sentenced, and kind of like we point the fingers at who controls them. But maybe these statistics are just unlucky. The fact that we have to attach things to them and have anxieties on who did what, and put a face on it, that's the issue.
But what I find funny is that whatever they're saying, that black people are muggles or whatever, they don't talk about the bankers, and which they did, and no one's arrested, no one's been prosecuted for that.
Yeah, who's been tax evading.
Yeah, exactly. And that always gets really gets on my nerves.
Well, I'm sure if they did like drugs raids in the city and wanted to arrest people, they'd probably arrest a lot of people. I've got a feeling there's a lot of cocaine in the city, hence why so many big businesses have gone out of business. In fact, nearly every one of those guys who got done for fraud, the Barings Bank and all those places, all of them, drink and drugs. I can't remember the last time a banker was arrested for cocaine dealing, but somebody's dealing.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing it up there, and they're getting the good stuff. Do you know what I mean? They're paying a lot of money for that, so I don't know. I'm putting that one out. But my favourite one, ladies and gentlemen, this one on this list is my favourite one. Smart parents put their kids in class with Asians.
I never heard of that in my life. So stupid. It's so utterly dumb.
I think we should just go around and do a quick survey around Fulham and find out, do you put your kids in class with Asian kids? Is that a smart thing to do? Isn't it that smart parents teach their kids well? Or is it just that being next to an Asian kid makes you smarter?
I think they literally hit 9 and had to pull that one out of their arse.
I think they're making
Positive one.
I think, so lo and behold, I think the Daily Mail's making this shit up as they go along. Here's another one. White and poor is the new black. I don't. Maybe it's a sentence construction. I don't know what that means.
Sentence is that meant to be fashionable? Is that something?
Is that bad? Is that good?
I thought black was orange was the new black. I don't know. I'm getting confused. Yeah, what does that mean? Does that mean anything to you guys? First of all,
No.
you two lovely white folks. Does that mean anything to you? As a black guy, all it means to me is either it means that they think all black people are poor, or it means that they think all black people are really good, all poor white people are really good in bed. I don't know. That statement, it flies out in so many directions. I don't know what I'm meant to get from that. But
I mean, I see lots of poor people, and they're all different colours. I didn't realise that one person could be poor.
I don't know. Just that is a statement.
A bit of change.
White and poor is the new black. What, they're good dancers? I don't know. I just there's not a lot to work with here, but I'm just putting it out there. But anyway. So moving on down the list, Irish people run a building trade.
No, it's Polish.
Well, there you go. I'm now even more confused because for years UKIP's been telling me that Polish people were coming over here and building everything, and now they're saying it's the Irish. I don't know which way to look now.
Back when you're drinking, you're talking places like Magaluf. They put Irish bars everywhere.
Oh, that's
and
true.
they're popular.
Gosh,
when you go,
but they're fake Irish bars. They're not run by Irish people.
It's like that's a stereotype right there, isn't it? Like, Irish people running bars.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Irish
I'm
people.
not sure of the stereotype, but I've been to. At least one Irish person who's serving behind the bar, at least.
And then Jewish households are twice as wealthy as the rest. Again, I don't get what that means.
As
a group of people, they're twice as wealthy as the average British household. That's all. That's not a crime. That's not a race issue, is it? That's just what are they saying? They're twice as wealthy. They're walking around with gold chains. I don't
understand that.
I'm losing the plot. Help me out here, people.
It's the Daily Mail. Forget it.
Oh, it's not over yet. There's still one more to come. I do worry about this country. If this is something people feel scared about talking about, this is truly terrifying. Indian women are 8 times as likely to be chemists.
What? Who's talking out there? The posterior. Seriously,
What, are you born with a profession? I remember a lot of money for your profession.
No, it's all bizarre, but these are apparently things. This isn't. I don't think these are things that Daily Mail have just pulled out of their arse. I think it's things that other people have pulled out of their arse, and these are on the comment boards on the Daily Mail, and it's like, it's like, well, I don't know. It's just. It sounds to me like they want to be racist. It reminds me of that woman who was in that video last week from fraternity. She was a fraternity mother, and she sat there and she's singing along to a song, and she sits there with the broadest smile, and she just goes, nigga, 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 to the rap song, and it just reminds me that they want to be racist. And I'm like, look, if you want to be, that's fine, but there's a consequence to this. Sooner or later, you're going to meet someone who defies your stereotype, and you won't be able to break out of it because you've got this image in your head. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know, it confuses the hell out of me, and I know it's just the Daily Mail. I do not deny that it's probably the worst newspaper to come about for a long time, but it just disturbs me that this is what people are burning to talk about, and I think anybody from those groups would probably turn around and go, well, let's talk about that. You know, most black people would want to talk about the fact that there's a lot of, when it comes to black on black crime, that happens. Most black people want to talk about, what was the other one? Black Britons are twice as likely to be sentenced for violent crime. They'd want to talk about that. Not one of those issues of things, apart from the Asian kid one. If that's the conversation in the tea rooms of Britain, I'm worried about the UK, because there's many more important things to worry about, like how we stop those things from happening, how we make people feel worth something in this nation, and how we get rid of UKIP. You know, these are bigger questions that need to be asked. How we convince the Scots to stay part of the Union and make it worth their while, because solidarity is a great thing. I don't know. Are there not bigger issues that are burning on the lips of British people?
Of course, there are a lot bigger issues, like, for also example, mental health. What's happening, why a lot of children are being put in, not in prison, they're put in police cells and they're not supervised. That is what's really worrying, really scary. And and also there's a high proportion of black people who are in mental institutions as well. So these are much more important issues than whatever the hell Daily Mail talking about.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that's what I'm trying to say as well. I'm just a bit confused by this whole thing, and I feel sorry that people may look at you guys tomorrow and go, white people. You know, I do. You know, don't whatever if that happens, don't feel bad about that. Blame the Daily Mail. It's nobody else's fault but theirs. But it was across a few papers today. It was all across the internet, and what worries me is the comments. My lord, go on to the comments for the Daily Mail website. I will try and bring it up for you in a bit, and we'll come back to it.
Surely something like this kind of circulates the rumour, and then it only takes like one loose link to something, and then everyone's like, yeah, I know someone who's a bit like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that has to be true on that one-off occasion that doesn't link to actually anything at all in this broad
sometimes
statement.
You look at a comment page on the internet, it's just full of bile and hate, so it doesn't matter what if you look for that kind of stuff, it will be there. So
no, I agree with you. I think a lot of the time, and I live by the rule generally, don't read the comments, but I go more along the line of ignore the ones that, you know, are going to wind you up and make you angry, because it is absolute bollocks. I mean, seriously, who on earth gets up in the morning and goes, I'm going to put my kid into a class with somebody Asian so they grow up smart? Nobody other than an absolute moron would contemplate that, and that's something I think that's the approach I'm taking with most of it.
That particular statement, I think, well, what do they mean by that? What do you mean, going to a Sikh school, a Muslim school? What do they mean, a Hindu school? Because it's just total.
They just mean slip the teacher a couple 20s and he'll sort out the seating arrangement for you.
It's like, wow, that I know a lot of parents, and I know not one of them has gone, you know what, I really need to get my kid into a class with an Asian kid, otherwise they're not going to be taught well. I never met a parent who said that.
The reason that teachers have professions is because they teach. I didn't realise the Asian kids teach the other kids, you know.
It's like, they'll be good, they won't do anything naughty, they'll be well behaved, and they'll grow up with respect for the parents. Not a good education and a good moral upbringing, no, it'll be something else. But anyway, look, I hate the Daily Mail, and I know I shouldn't go to that site. I only go there to get some articles and stuff like that, because as far as I'm concerned, they're obsessed with Nazis, UKIP, and just being mean to women, even though it's the most read newspaper by women, which boggles my mind, but there you go. Now moving on, but not too far. Back to UKIP again. Old Farage, old boy, has suggested that he backs a 5-year state school ban on immigrant children. So he's basically saying if you're an immigrant and you bring kids into the country, you shouldn't be allowed to go to a state school. Which again, you know, it's one of those things that I could see people around the UKIP tables going, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's a great idea. You know, and again, how on earth would anything like that work? You're segregating kids just because they're foreigners. I don't get that. And they're like, it's until they put money into the pot. What pot are you talking about?
They're children.
Do you know what I mean? What, you've got to chip in some change? What, pay some tax? If you're working, you're paying tax. What difference does it make how that money comes out? I know when I reach pensionable age, I will have no money. No matter how much money I put into the pot, I'll have nothing. I'll probably be living in a tent in, I don't know, Hyde Park. I've got no idea. But Anyway, how do you guys stand with that? Does that make any sort of sense to you?
To me, no, it doesn't. Recently I've been reading just like randomly on a few policies of what each party wants for education and way to move forward, moaning about things like not enough childcare, we need to get more childcare, make the schools responsible. But then when I read something like that, I'm just thinking, taking a child's right to education, surely that's something that, us as Britain, we provide that. We have state schools. Why go and take it away when it's a child? Like, I understand when they want people to put into a pot as adults, but why make a child suffer from something that they need in development?
I think because unlike your very good opinion, your excellent opinion, people don't see education as a right in this country anymore, especially a lot of the, I don't want to use the word elites, because that suggests that there is something better about them. The snobs is what I'm going to call them from now on. The snobs of this nation don't see it as a right. They think that, maybe state education should be free to a degree, but they're now trying to get parents going to more private education. They've taken out a lot of resources, so they're looking at everybody else and going, well, no, it shouldn't be free. University education? University education should be free, as far as I'm concerned. People shouldn't have to pay for an education. Now, yes, there's the argument that some courses shouldn't be free, that are not courses that are useful, but if anybody's studying to be a doctor, a teacher, a science, engineering, it should be free. These are things that make nations great. These are things that push society forward. Scientists, mathematicians, sociologists, people that help people, nurses, all these things, as far as I'm concerned, should be free, because they're things that make a nation truly great. And if you charge people for it, you do then make it a thing for the snobs and the well-to-do, and not a thing for people that maybe can't get into those areas of society. That makes society more fluid. If you can educate your way out of poverty, what greater power can you give young people? I don't know, that's just me. It fills me with rage. But
with universities and stuff, there is grants there for, say, people studying to be doctors and things. I know it's not as accessible as it should be, but there is funding there. It's just they're not always being made aware where you can find it. But when it comes to things like, I guess, just secondary schooling or even college, I remember when I went to college, I went to a really good state school college, but I remember a lot of the kids that went there had been private school previously in high school, but their parents wanted to go there just so they could get like a better education because their statistics was working out okay. And I thought it was weird being in that kind of difference where someone has paid for their education most of their life against someone who's been to state school, because I really appreciated my time there, where others kind of felt like me as a state school person shouldn't have been there, as if I didn't work as hard as they did going through private school. But at the same time, it was a state college. But it's almost like if you have money and I guess intelligence, it's like they almost want to huddle that around and keep it for them. But yeah, anyone can have an education, anyone can have that right. Surely it's the work you put into it, and I think that's the confusing thing. If you start doing that from the bottom levels, from when a child starts going to school and saying they need to put money in the pot, they're a child. What if they're like 5 coming into starting parts of their school? How are they meant to, by the time you take 5 years away from them, that's so much development that would affect and have a knock-on for the rest of their education all the way up until university.
You know what, I think part of it is that society's also become so uneven that people don't interact with people from other social groups so much. Most people who have well-paid jobs or whatever, they're going to work at about 8 in the morning, they get to work, they're on a train, everybody's dressed like them, everybody's going in the same direction. Now, on occasions I have to be at work at 8:30 in the morning, I will get up at 7 or 6:30, and I might even get an early train and be on my way to work by 7:30, on occasions earlier, depending on how hungover I am. So I'm on my way to work, and then you see all the immigrants, then you see all the people who are getting up really early because they have to go to their jobs really early. And I think people aren't interacting, they don't drink in the same places. Like, you used to have people from different social classes drinking in the same pub or hanging out in similar environments sometimes in London and up and down the country. That happens less and less now, and I think that may be the problem. People see immigrants as somehow coming here and just being on benefits, and because you've got that image, it ties into the whole thing about the debate about race. It's like people are sitting there going, I can't talk about race, even though they are talking about it, but they can't talk about it to the people they want to talk about it. And this is where maybe the problem is, especially with Muslims. Muslims. People judge Muslims in this country so harshly, all right? And they talk about it so openly, but where are they talking about it? In pubs, in bars. Where don't you usually find Muslims? Anywhere where there's alcohol. And I think that plays a big part. You know, there's a lot of pubs where, you know, especially when black and Asian people came over here a lot during the 50s and the 60s, right? They'd come over and they'd still hang out in the pubs. Yeah, you had black pubs and black bars, but a lot of the time people were mixing there. They'd go out clubbing and dancing together. They'd meet each other. Sometimes they'd fight. Sometimes they'd dance, and sometimes they'd make sweet love. But there was that level of interaction going on, and they were going to the same schools. But I think people are more closed off now, and I think that may actually be the problem, and not anything to do with you know, this whole thing about barring children. You know, I don't know. It just sounds surreal to me. It sounds like right-wing politics has never done Europe that much good. I know everybody praises Thatcher, right? But Thatcher was still sort of a centrist. She didn't like unions, but she sort of had, although it was right-wing, very centrist policies. You know what I mean? She still propped up the NHS. She still did a lot of things, the right to buy and all the rest of it. She did screw over the miners and manufacturing in this country, but she wasn't that far right. Do you know what I mean? She didn't go that far. And I don't know why people seem obsessed with UKIP. It didn't do us that much good 60, 70 years ago. Remember Hitler? I don't know. It just seems really weird that people want that type of politics now.
No, but the thing about UKIP, which I can slightly understand the attraction, because some people do feel that their voice is not being heard, and that's what the problem is. I mean, the thing about banning children going to state school, which is ridiculous. Because what are those children supposed to do? Are they supposed to start working? I find that really strange. But some people do say, well, I'm not sure, that UKIP represents a kind of an anger or where the country is going or not going. I don't know, but it does. There is a feeling, there's a sentiment. So you can't just. It's easy to laugh, but there is a kind of anger, maybe towards immigrants. Maybe they feel like they're council housing. There's very few council houses, so obviously hospitals aren't the best. They're improving, and also school places and the infrastructure. So there is, I don't know. It just it worries me though.
But then this brings me back to the point: why aren't people going to build more houses? Why aren't we standing outside the Parliament demanding more houses being built, which everybody's been saying for the past 15 years, as opposed to deciding that stupidity is the way forward? Because I've seen nothing about UK. Every time one of their MPs opens their mouths, nothing but stupid seems to come out. And I know it's bad to take the piss out of groups just because of their opinion, but they make it so easy. They're not making it difficult for me to sit here and make a joke about them. They make it so easy to do it, and it's not that they come up with any rational opinion. These guys are kooks. The amount of them that have gone, there's the Jews, the Illuminati, and conspiracy theories. You know, I'm not saying that people don't have a right to be annoyed with the establishment and the way it's going. But it just seems to spill bile. And just so you know, the Daily Mail has removed the comment section off of that article about Trevor Phillips and the documentary. Okay, because I think that made more news than anything else did, and I think they've removed it because they've realised people were just being bigoted and racist. And I think that for me says a lot, and it worries me. The Daily Mail confuses me sometimes because they were the newspaper. One of their reporters was the guy who refused to give up on the Stephen Lawrence inquiry and getting something done about that. But then you see that every other article, they love stories about Nazis. My God, they have at least 2 stories a year. This is Nazi Germany before the war, in colour. They're obsessed with it, but that's their thing, right? But I'm just like, why is UKIP the expression? These guys that openly said incredibly stupid things. Why are they the outlet for the rage? You know,
I guess because they represent the disconnect between the major parties and ordinary people. Not sure ordinary people, but people who feel they're being hard done by. They feel they're being screwed over by the government. I guess I can only possibly think that's what it is.
I'm not holding you responsible as well. I'm just looking. I'm just looking for an explanation. I know the way I asked you, I was like, no. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I know we've spoken before about which way you might vote or not, and stuff like that. Since we spoke last, have you looked into what's going on in your local area? Have you found out who your local MP is?
Well, you've looked into getting registered to vote, so that's pretty good.
Well, yeah, I was looking at just all random policies across the board. It's just a lot of them. Sometimes it's what they're saying to what they're doing, and then what comes out in the media. None of it really connects, does it?
Well, one thing I found really strange.
Like UKIP. So with that, their policies, they do seem very, straightforward, a way of resolving. But at the same time, it's not really giving the answers. It's just giving.
Well, it's cliche bollocks. One of their key policies is about stopping employers and stopping them from hiring foreign workers, right? Now, you ask any company how they feel about that, yeah? And I think 90% of them will turn around and go, I need foreign workers to come and work here. They have skills I need. They have abilities that I need. And fair enough, I train up British workers. I've got apprentices. I've got this. I've got that. But just the sheer amount of people I need to expand my business, I need foreign workers. This is an international business, like most of the businesses in the UK now
NHS.
are.
If the NHS will fall apart, I don't know why they come out with such ridiculous statements.
And if the economy gets better, people go and work where the economy's good. What you're going to say? No. You're foreign. You're foreign. You can't come over here. What you're going to tell businesses you can't have that? This economy relies on people being able to travel and do business around the world.
The thing is, I would like him to say that to the FA. That would be really interesting. God,
don't get him started. Do you know what? I even if he doesn't do something, I reckon somebody might. It's just do you know what? I'm not going to lie. I'm angry about this sort of stuff. It infuriates me, and it's just the way that all the Labour and the Tory party seem to kowtow to them. They're a minority within a minority of voters, and I know for a fact that the majority of British people are not inclined to the Daily Mail's views. They're not inclined to UKIP's views, but those people aren't voting, and instead of the parties going out and getting those people out,
but some are. That's why the UKIP, they've got quite a few MEPs, so they do have a voice.
Only because people aren't voting. So few people vote in the European elections, it's almost not worth having it. And that's more the issue. UKIP's only gained ground because nobody's voting. You young people need to vote.
So it's about disconnection. People are not connected. They don't feel enfranchised, or simply don't care. They're apathetic.
To be fair, even with the research I've been doing, like I say, it doesn't match up to what they say to what then you read the policies being. It's like, how can you really trust anyone? But you do notice a common ground across all of it, in which parties are looking for very similar things. Just one says one really wide statement of something that just doesn't seem possible to do, while the other one's like giving a half lazy statement, being like, well, we'll sort this out a little like this.
Again, it ties into what I just said. What's happened is, because so few people are voting, those people that are voting want similar things, right? So all the people that are voting want the NHS to be protected, or they want less tax, they want more childcare, they want very similar things. And the problem for the parties is, because so few people vote, they're chasing the same electorate. So this is why you've got the problem. UKIP are lucky in a sense, because they're the common sense party. Because they're the common sense party, they're able to literally go, they could say the Earth's flat and everybody's wrong, and they're getting that sort of rage against the system, that the system's a problem, that we can't do anything about it, that I don't count and I want to count, that my opinion's important, not that guy's opinion, not that foreigner, not that guy telling me to feed my family well. Like they remind me of the Tea Party in America a lot. They take that sort of libertarian stance, which I've got no problem with libertarianism, except it just sounds like anarchy to me. And less government, which isn't necessarily a bad idea in some cases, but what does that mean? What they don't want Trident gotten rid of, right? They don't want the army cut down, but they want less government. That makes no sense to me.
That's the kind of contradicting stuff makes it difficult to know.
We've got Trident, we've never used it. God forbid, and I'm not religious, but God forbid that we ever have to use Trident. I feel sorry for the man that has to go, I'm going to fire a nuclear missile at anything.
Might be a woman.
Sorry, I do no. I think women wouldn't be that crazy. I'm not being mad. I think women are a lot smarter than that. God forbid that anybody would have to use that tool as a preventive or an attack or formal weapon, because that's mass genocide in one missile. It doesn't matter who you fire at. That's mass genocide, and that's not a decision I'd like to make. But people only seem to want less government as long as it doesn't affect them. And that's more my issue. Do you know what I mean? As long as it doesn't affect them and makes their lives easier, that's why they want less government. And that to me is a bit of a scary thing. Government's there for a purpose, and I think it serves a purpose. Whether it's sorting out education, whether it's sorting out health, that's why you have government. And it can be made to work well. It doesn't have to be badly organised and anything like that. I don't know. Newman, you've been very quiet.
I've just been away from the news for a week. And I'm just like,
that's what I'm here for.
Oh yeah, what's that? Oh,
education, information, entertainment.
Exactly.
Here live on Disorderly Conduct, ladies and gentlemen. We have actually run over slightly, so we'll do part 1 and part 2 for you, ladies and gents. If you up for another half hour of chin wagging?
Could probably need to top up
you
the
got
drink.
us here.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gents, we'll be back. We'll do a part 2, and we'll carry that conversation on. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. If you don't come back, Lazy Fox, Farm Lane, the warmest, loveliest, nicest pub in Fulham. This is Disorderly Conduct. Guys, say goodbye to everybody that's not coming back in part 2.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Creep away.